Okay, I'm going to read from it's the beginning of a short story I've been working on. I told a lot of people I was going to be reading about artificial insemination of pigs, but that's not true. It was just to get you here. All right. Hopefully this is almost as good as about marriage. I'm dreading my sister Margot's wedding like the butt doctor. It'll be in my hometown, LaGrange, in East Texas, which I swore I'd only go back to on Christmases. I haven't told my family I don't really believe in Christ anymore because coming out as gay and vegan was bad enough, particularly in a conservative Southern family whose patriarch has worked in the meatpacking industry for 3 generations. Anyway, the wedding will be Baptist, which means it's dry. Margot and her fiance, a MAGA asswipe from Nashville who's trying to make it as a Christian musician, like the hip, folky kind, will be married by not one, but 2 pastors. All the ghosts of my childhood, whose disapproval I'd earned roundly when I came out of the closet via social media, will return to haunt me over macaroons and mixed nuts. There's one consolation. A month before the wedding, Margot calls me up to insist I bring Cliff, my boyfriend, as my date to the ceremony. I know we haven't always had the best relationship, Margot says. She's right, she called homosexuality a sin and a lifestyle less than a year ago. But I'd like Cliff to be there. I really would. I can tell that Margot expects me to thank her profusely for not being among the bigots this once. And Mom approves, she adds, when I don't. I'm shocked. I'm shocked that Margot remembers Cliff's name, that my mother Sylvia recalls his existence. While thanking her in the way she wanted me, giving Margot way too much credit, I also couldn't ignore the fact that this was a huge development for the 5-point Calvinist family who put me through online conversion therapy and made me attend an evangelical youth conference where Kirk Cameron called homosex a broken cistern. If Kirk Cameron isn't secretly a huge gay fuckboy, I'm a literal orange. A year and a half before, I'd asked if Cliff could vacation with the family in Vail for a few days over Christmas while we were on break from school. I'd offered to pay for his plane ticket, his ski equipment, and lift tickets, everything. My father, Roland, took a family vote, and Cliff was unanimously voted down by Sylvia, my younger brothers, Dewey and Drake, and a half-resolved but ever-submissive Margot. We just can't allow that in our house, Roland reasoned with me before comparing Cliff to the wolf at the doorway who could pounce on the family and engulf it in sin. I know the real reason, of course. He was terrified that either Dewey or Drake, just 12 and 14, would eventually turn out like me, and that somehow Cliff would give them their first wet dreams. It was a valid fear. Cliff's gorgeous. I don't thank Margot at all. Instead, I ask if there will be a vegetarian option at dinner. She says, yes, a baked potato. Fuck, I think, a baked potato? But there's no point in arguing with Margot. She's asked me multiple times what vegan means. Anyway, she just invited Cliff to her wedding. I keep the conversation polite, and as soon as I get the chance, I tell her I've got plans now and hang up. Cliff and I live in Austin, in a casita with a parakeet, owned by Cliff, who loves to sing Lana Del Rey. We've been together for 10 months. This is my second long-term relationship, Cliff's first. Cliff's a lot nicer than my first boyfriend, Miguel. We haven't had a single big fight yet, and Cliff always wants to do what I want to do. I'm used to getting my way because I'm the eldest child in my family, the Dundee family. I started Lexapro for the second time about 2 months into our monogamy. Our sex life has dwindled some since, but Cliff has been more than patient with me. He watches porn when he wants, which doesn't bother me, and he has this dildo mount in the shower that he fucks himself with. Cliff's a total bottom, and I'm a bottom too. Well, first bottom, I guess, because anytime we fuck, I'm always on top, which has always made me want to bottom more because I prefer not to do any moving at all. At my core, I'm really just a lazy pillow princess. I'm Gwyneth Paltrow. Of course, I'm fully aware that Cliff is still horny as hell when he acts like he doesn't mind that I'm not horny. He says he wants me to get healthy, get a grip on my anxiety. It's worth the sacrifice, he says. He's so nice to me. We haven't fucked in 4 months. I'll admit that once or twice I've wondered if it's really the Lexapro affecting me or if maybe I just don't like having sex with Cliff. I usually push through that thought, push it away fast, and when we talk I blame everything on the meds. If I'm unwell, I can't be seen as simply disinterested when I don't want to fuck. I'm unwell. And I like having Cliff around. We get along, we like the same bars and taco joints. Anyway, the fact that Cliff has been invited to this wedding is, as I said, a huge fucking deal. It means my parents might be starting to come around to what they call the gay deal. Maybe if the wedding goes all right, maybe if they finally recognize that Cliff and I are both totally normal boys who just happen to like penis, maybe then they'll feel like family again. Margot's fiance emails me a few days later. He wouldn't dare call me, not after our last argument over why he's an asshole for voting Republican last year, and asked me to be an usher in the wedding. But I can't afford the $150 tux rental from Men's Warehouse, and I would never, ever be caught dead wearing anything from Men's Warehouse anyway. So I declined, citing that I'd hate for Cliff to have to sit alone during the ceremony. I've been waiting for this day for months, the day I refused to be part of Margot's wedding party. It is so fucking satisfying. Cliff and I settle on floral print button-downs and stone-colored slacks. We even try to match shoes. He wears Cole Haans, I wear Sebagos. The groom's wedding guests and the more distant relations on our side will hopefully assume we're brothers. And since we're not wearing boots, we'll be called city people. I go through the mental list of likely guests with Cliff. Both sets of grandparents, Sylvia's side of the family, the fun side, who Roland likes to call the Austin liberals, and Roland's, who don't drink. I show Cliff a photo of Aunt Chandra, Roland's sister, and warn him not to speak to her nor even look at her. Aunt Chandra sent me a cunty Facebook message demanding I get my ass back in the pew, return to the straight and narrow lest I be cast down into hell when I die. Which she graciously reminded me could be any day now, could be this afternoon in a car crash. Then there's Dwayne, her husband, and Katie Jo, their daughter, single mother of a kid who I'm hoping will turn out homo. I tell Cliff about my other cousins on Sylvia's side, the children of her brother Roger, Kent, who looks like his wife Caroline's fraternal twin, Lake, his real name, who ran me over with a golf cart when we were kids. Then there are all the locals, the brush country folks, the friends of my parents, the Munsons who run a dairy farm, the Mangums who own Cactus Ropes, the Dowdies who own Dowdies men and boys wear. I haven't seen some of these folks in 10 years. We leave on a Thursday. The drive takes 2 hours. There are 2 turns, one turn onto Deerhaven Road on Page off of 290, the other into the driveway of the Dundee residence. The Dundee residence is a 90-year-old farmhouse, yellow, 2 stories tall with a wraparound porch on both levels. All the bedrooms are already full when we arrive. Cliff and I weren't planning on sharing a bed anyhow, but now Cliff has moved to the playroom couch, and I to an air mattress on the floor nearby. Sylvia is bustling around the kitchen preparing dinner for the guests. She kisses me on the cheek and greets Cliff with a handshake rather than a hug, then gets back to work. Kitty Jo is stirring pudding on the stove while she bounces her 6-month-old on her left hip. He's shitting all down her leg, but she hasn't noticed yet, and I don't bother to say anything. Aunts Jody and June, 2 of the Austin liberals that Roland detests so much, are mixing Franzia, orange juice, lemons, and limes in a pitcher to make sangria. Then I remember the wedding's dry. "Look how handsome you look," Aunt June says to me. She looks like shit, her hair all scraggly like she's been mud in it. She's got dementia. She doesn't remember my name, which is why she doesn't use it. "Thank you," I say. This is Cliff." Cliff reaches out to shake Aunt June's hand. Cliff Bartosh. She won't remember Cliff either. "How's Landry?" I ask June. "Still in the Navy," she says. "Aw, he's not in the Navy, he's 15. Landry is my 3rd cousin, and when he was a little kid, he used to shit outside in the bushes with the dogs. Aunt June is his grandma and my great aunt. He's the only Landry I've ever met, not that I've met many, who didn't spell his name with a Y. For that reason, we call him La Andre." There are sandwiches in the living room, Sylvia hollers over her shoulder. That's our cue to get the hell out. In the living room, my second cousin Joanne sits by herself watching the Wheel of Fortune. Joanne Koch, 61, from Helotes, Texas. She's Sylvia's older first cousin. Joanne's husband blew up in a dryer explosion in 1999, along with all 3 of their children and most of their home, while Joanne was on a bus tour of New England with the Baptist Singing Women of Texas. Joanne turns and looks at me like she's not surprised to see me. "Wheels on," she says. "I see that," I say. She smiles and turns back toward the TV. I glance awkwardly at Cliff. "Do you remember me, Joanne?" I ask. "Sydney? Sid?" Joanne turns and gives me another once-over. This time an expression of shock crosses her face, her eyes widening, teeth flashing like she hasn't seen me in years, which she hasn't. "Sydney Allen Dundee!" She drags it out with a squeal, standing up and grabbing me by the arms, shaking them. Then it hits me. Shit, I think. I told Cliff my middle name was William. "Just look at you," Joanne exclaims without looking at me. I pretend to examine my arms. So grown up. Please, come and have some of these delicious cucumber sandwiches. Oh, and Sydney, do you still prefer Sid? I was told to tell you." She's still not making eye contact. "Your father says he's sorry he couldn't be here to greet you, but he's still out on the deer lease with Roger and Lake and Kent. They want to check the deer traps, and Kent, he killed a hog, so they won't be back until supper." "That's okay," I say. "This is Cliff." I almost say my friend, but I stop myself, resolving to keep my relationship to Cliff vague rather than lie outright. Cliff and I hadn't discussed how we would introduce him, but I knew he wouldn't like being called friend. And I was out now. I wasn't going to go back in the closet for the weekend just to please a few bigots with tight assholes. Still, I couldn't make myself call Cliff what he really was. Lovely to meet you, Cliff, Joanne says. You two, have some food. She motions to the table where the cucumber and cream cheese sandwiches sit stacked on a plastic silver tray. Everything on the table is disgusting, like Thanksgiving when you're a kid. Lime jello mold and canned cranberry sauce divided into moon pie-sized slices. Cliff eats a sandwich triangle. The cranberry sauce is the only vegan thing, and I'm sure as hell not eating that. He's avoiding having to say hi, I whisper to Cliff. Classic. He went out hunting just so he wouldn't have to be here to say hi. Your initials are sad, Cliff says. Yeah? You told me your middle name was William. Now you know why. How the hell could your parents do a thing like that? I roll my eyes. It's not the worst thing they've done. Thank you.